Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on Nerdy Talk do not reflect those of Anime Herald. Due to strong language, listener discretion is advised. Now sit back and enjoy the show. Today's bandwidth brought to you by T-Pure. Limited edition t-shirts, brought to you cheap, new every day. They recently expanded to their new anime collection. Definitely check them out. Good evening, everybody. It's time for Nerdy Talk again. I'm Mike Ferrer. I'm joined by Matt Brown, Anthony Simpson, and Dorian Chadwick. Alright, tonight we have a special guest. She's been in the industry for quite a while. You may know her from her roles as Yuri from Dirty Pair, Mink from Dragon Half, or most recently Hanji Zoe in Attack on Titan. I'd like to introduce Jessica Calvello.
Hello!
Alright, thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Alright, and I guess we'll just get started.
Okay, sounds good.
Alright, our first question would be, what would be your dream role to play?
So, my favorite anime, actually, and when I saw this film, I was really young. I don't know, like I don't know, 9 or 10, 11 maybe. And I had no idea what anime was. And I caught it on cable, this was back in the day when there were like 3 cable channels, and if you had all 3 of them, you were like, amazing. There was like Showtime and HBO and the movie channel, and I caught it on, I think it was Showtime, and I was like, what is this? It was this great animation, and I was really taken with it. It was dubbed, and I just fell in love. And then when I watched the credits, I recognized that it was in a language I didn't understand, and so that's sort of like, I was like, what is this? So The Last Unicorn is like my favorite, one of my favorite movies, and probably my favorite anime, although I love Tokyo Godfathers. Oh, God, what a great show. But anyway, I would love to play the part that, I don't remember the name of the unicorn's name, actually. What is Mia Farrow? She was the voice of the unicorn, but I don't remember her human name. I just remember her being the unicorn. So, oh, man, what an amazing thing to play that role. Of course, it's a fantasy, but yeah. So that's a beautiful. Have you guys all seen that?
I have, and didn't that have a theme song from America?
Yes, I have the CD. I have the soundtrack from the movie with the theme song from America. I mean, that was like a really big deal. And, nobody knew. I mean, we had Speed Racer and Astro Boy, and I think Star Blazers had been out. So we had a little bit of the anime in the States, but not that much of it. And so it was a pretty big deal for the Last Unicorn to have that much of a popularity. And I have seen that movie. I have it on VHS. I mean, I really love that movie. But yeah, America. Oh, God, that's so funny that and I forgot that I had the CD. I honestly have that soundtrack.
I actually have not seen that movie.
You haven't?
No.
You have to see it. Oh, Jessica Lansbury. She plays what was she? She was not a witch. She was like a carnival, she was a hag. She was awesome. And then I think was Jeff Bridges played Schmendrick.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I see Jeff.
I clearly don't remember much from that movie.
That's okay. I would need to Google, but I think it was Jeff Bridges, and then Mia Farrow played the unicorn. Although, no spoilers, but she's also a human, and I cannot remember her human name. I guess it wasn't important to me. But she was just lovely. Her voice was lovely. Anyway, so. To play that role, I think I would just die. I mean, there's no reason for that movie to be dubbed again, but because it was perfect the way that it is. But it would certainly be amazing to work on that.
Yeah, I see Jeff Bridges in here. Yeah, if I watch, I'm gonna start every time I hear him talk. The dude's gonna start popping in my head.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be thinking like, that's just your, like, hey man, it's just like your opinion, man.
For me, the new Tron movie is playing back in my head because he's got like this like deep, commanding voice.
I did not see the new Tron movie. Should I see that?
I enjoyed it. It has Daft Punk music, which is pretty awesome.
I like Daft Punk, so.
Plus, I nailed the imagery on it. They really did.
Cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen the new Tron film either.
Yeah, I need to see it.
Yeah, I do recommend it. It was a lot of fun.
I feel though, and I know that the Tron, I know the Gotchaman crowds. I know we'll probably get into this, but I recently it was released that I did Gotchaman crowds, directed by Emily Neves Love, and I play Hajime. And when she transforms into her Gotchaman form, it reminds me of Tron, and I think it's because of the glowy, that very specific blue glow that she has. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that like sleek line look that goes down the character.
Yes, and I've not seen Tron, but I've seen the trailer for the movie, and I've definitely seen pictures, and I know what that's about. So that her character when she transforms reminds me of Tron. So anyway.
Right, and on the flip side, what role would you like to be most remembered by?
I think I'm gonna change up your question a bit because I thought about this. What I'd like to be most remembered by is not necessarily any one role that I've played. It's really how I played that role. It's really important to me, and I always hope this comes out in the characters I play, and I think that it does because it's in my heart. What I want to be most remembered by is hopefully the passion that I put into the characters, and if it's a comedic role, and most of my roles have been comedic, which I love. That's my forte. Was she funny? Did she deliver? Did she make me laugh? Was I having an awful day and I put in this anime and Jessica Calvello made me just absolutely forget how awful my day was? That means a lot to me. So, because I really have enjoyed all the roles I've worked on. I suppose if I really thought about, maybe I could pinpoint some that were more enjoyable than others, but then we're getting into process and all that. And I just really want to be remembered, like anytime you hear my voice in a role, did I breathe life into the character that you're watching? Was it believable? Did you buy it? That's what I want to be remembered by, because every time I work on something, that's what I'm throwing out there. That's what I'm giving. So I really hope that is how I'm remembered.
Awesome. And are there any characters you'd like to revisit given a chance? Given that chance, how would you like to have that particular character develop?
That is such a great question. To be honest with you, I would love to revisit Excel. And it's not just so that I could complete the series. It's really not about that. I mean, I wouldn't even mind starting over. I mean, this is obviously not going to happen. So this is a fantasy, right? This is me just being honest and telling you what I feel. We picked a real difficult voice to maintain. And the only way that I would have been able to finish that series is if I would have been able to, if we would have adhered to what was originally agreed upon by the studio, which was to give me a 6-week break in between volumes. And that didn't happen. And so as each volume was recorded, I had less and less time to recover. And I always knew, working on a show like Excel Saga, I was going to be shredding my cords. I mean, we picked a real difficult, and I say we because it's a process. It's not, you work with the director on a voice that sounds not just good, but does this fit the character? Is it a match to the Japanese? Lots of times it's not, but lots of times that might not be important to the director or to the production, and sometimes it is. It just depends. But we picked a voice that required absolute vocal rest for a good chunk of time in between volumes, and even though that was agreed upon, as we kept going and as the schedule kept getting, just more intense and they said, look, we can't give you that 6-week break. And so when I went in to record the 4th volume, which we started working on, I'd only had 2 weeks break since volume 3. And it took me around 45 hours to record each. So if I'm recording for 45 hours over 2 weeks, and not given an ample break in between volumes, then I'm not going to be able to maintain an already difficult voice that we had chosen. So what I would love to do in Jessica's Fantasyland is to go back and either modify Excel's voice to where, all the energy is there. We still have her zaniness, her craziness. It's a whacked out show. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. It's insane. She still has to have a real edge to her. And Kotona Mitsuishi, who's the original Excel, who's amazing and the best and the most wonderful and incredible. And oh my God, I freaking admire her so much. You still, and as the English voice, you still have to capture all of that craziness with Excel. I mean, she's nuts, but to pick a voice, that's all it. That is something that requires a lot of downtime. So if the chance were had, I would love to go back and pick a voice that would be more for longevity, or keep the voice that we had, which I think is a little annoying. I can't watch Excel Saga. I mean, kudos to anyone who can. It drives me crazy. But if that's the voice that the director, if it was Matt or whoever, wanted to keep, then give me that 6-week, maybe even 8-week break in between volumes so that we can keep her going and finish out the series. So it's something I think about, like in Jessica Land, which no one should ever visit because it makes no sense. But yeah, it is something that I've thought about.
And not for nothing, that Excel Saga dub did sound absolutely painful to do.
It was, and that is why I said, when I took the role, I said, if we're going for it and this is the voice we want to do, you have to give me a 6-week break because I will be shredding my chords. I mean, I would finish a volume and I had no voice. And I was living in New York, and I'd go up to New York, and I wouldn't take voice roles. I mean, I kept true to my, my deal. I said, look, you give me a 6-week break, I will come back in full voice for you. Because any VA will tell you when you max out your chords, they're swollen, they're red. You just got to give it a break, and then your voice comes back. Now, if you get vocal nodules, then you're looking into other options. You might need surgery. You might need some serious, like, not talking for months. I mean, that can happen too. The singer, the Adele, the amazing singer, she actually had to cancel her tour. I don't know how far along in her tour that she was, but she started developing vocal nodules on her chords, and she canceled. So I had started getting them too. I went in to record for the 4th volume, and I went to a voice specialist, and he said, you're starting to get vocal nodules. And I said, well, my God, I said, what do I do? And he said, well, you're not at the point where you need surgery. If you keep going, you will. You need to take a break. And they just didn't have time. They did not have time to give me that break based on their production schedule. So it was really just unfortunate, sometimes things like that happen, and what can you do? You can't control it. So what are you going to do?
And in addition to VA roles, I can see live stage roles being pretty demanding, since you have to add some volume to pretty much everything you do.
Absolutely. And so while I was doing Excel Saga, I actually didn't do any stage productions, but, pre-Excel Saga or post-Excel Saga days, I was a stage actress. I lived in New York and in Houston, and I did a lot of stage. And I still had, I was still doing anime work. I was still dubbing, and I also had regular commercial work. And there were times where I was really hoarse and I had to go on stage. I remember I was actually doing a children's show called The Monkey King, and it was an Americanized pop culture version of The Monkey King, of Monkey Goes West, which is a traditional Chinese folklore story. And I played the Monkey King, and that was an extremely vocally demanding role on stage, and we toured. So we didn't have body mics. We basically just had to shout it out and project and really use our instruments as the way you're supposed to. And when you've got 2 shows a day, and when I say tour, I mean some of the tours were local. When I say tour, like we might have just been going to like some schools in the area, but we might have had 3 shows a day. And then if I have 3 shows a day, and then at 4 p.m. I'm in the studio, and I'm working on, Comic Party, which I played Emmy, and she's a, panda, 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 or I'm doing, Ruin Explorers, where I played Sam, and I had a very, sort of, high-pitched voice, which obviously is not my, my natural voice, so I'm stressing out my chords, so I'm not complaining, it's all part of it, but you can't do it all. Something's going to give at some point, because we are mere, human beings with flesh and blood and two very small tissues, for vocal cords. So it's a tough life. And, it really comes a point. I've had some good friends of mine who are extremely talented actors. And they said, you know what? I want to commit this year to singing and doing stage work, and I'm not going to do any voice roles. And they don't take any voice roles on, because doing both could potentially be detrimental. Or one of them is not going to be as good as the other. If you're projecting on stage, then your voice work on mic is going to suffer a bit. Or if you've got the 7-hour voice session and you bang that out and you're great and you're fantastic, you have a show the next day, you might not be in full voice for your show. And it's just really, really hard, so.
All right. Well, you're one of the longest standing roles in the industry today. You've been acting since the early days of ADV. You voiced iconic characters like Cutie Honey, Dirty Pair's Yuri, and Hanji Zoe from Attack on Titan. How has the anime world changed since you started working in the industry? And what would you say has been the most positive and most surprising change you've seen through your career?
So I don't want to sound like I'm 90, but I'm like, back in the day, when I would record anime, like my first anime job was in 1995. God, were you people born yet?
I was in 5th grade.
Oh,
I was a junior in high school.
Oh, aren't you cute? What about you, Mike?
I was in middle school at that point.
Well,
Yeah, I'm
where
the
are
old
you
one.
now? Yeah, you're so old.
Yeah, I just turned 30, so I'm definitely in the old farts club.
I'll have a belated birthday on that. I turn 30 next year myself.
You guys are adorable. You're adorable with your 30-year-old whatever. So yeah, in 95 was my first job with ADV Films, and I believe I might have done some incidental and Walla on the show Blue Seed, which featured Amanda Winley. And then I did these were like back to back, and then I'm just not sure which one came first. I had 3 big lines in Evangelion. So one of my lines was, "The doors are now closing." So that was my entry into ADV Films. So the way the process has changed is kind of amazing to me, but not at the same time. I mean, obviously everything's digital now. So back then, we were still using Pro Tools, but we had this thing that we used called paper. And on this archaic material called paper, we had these things called scripts that were printed on this paper. And we were given scripts to take into the studio, and we would hold them. And we would look at the monitor, which was sometimes a TV, not a flat screen, but like an actual TV. And I would hold the script in my hand, and then I would look up to the screen, and I would go back and forth with my eyes and try to hit the sync and all that. And now you go into the studio, and there are usually, dual flat screen monitors, and one screen will have your script on it that the director will scroll through for you. You never touch it. And then the other screen is the animation, so that your eyeballs, instead of going from down to where your hands are with the script up to the monitor, now your eyes are just darting left and right between the script and the animation. And that was an interesting, transition for me. I mean, like, I did a show, really old show. I think the show, I'd have to Google this because I'm not sure if it came out in the 70s or 80s. We dubbed it, I think, in 99. It's called Detonator Oregon. It's really old. And the studio that I recorded it in had this tiny, tiny TV. It was so small, it was in black and white. And the quality was horrible. Like, there were lines running through, like, the animation, and, like, the time code was, like, across the mouth so that you really couldn't see the sync all that well. You hoped you were hitting it. And so obviously, animation's come a long way. Now it's all digital, and like I said, you don't deal with. And I kind of miss. I have to say, it's a little bit of a culture change, because like sometimes, when like if I knew who was coming into the studio after me, like if I knew who was in the cast, I might leave a note on the script and be like, hi, and you're doing so well, and, oh, you're cracking me up, or, have a good session, and a smiley face and hearts and all that, or, call me, and I put my number on it, because I knew who was coming in next, and a lot of us were friends, and that was kind of a fun thing. And also I would make notes on my script. That would help. I mean, I would highlight my lines, and I sort of treated it like a theatrical script, and I would make notes on it, slow this down, give it some phrasing here, 5 flaps short, that kind of thing. So that's gone, because now your script, but the scripts are also a lot better. So, back then there might not have been an adapter. You might have been getting kind of like a raw translation, and you had lines that made no sense. The line might be like, the cat ate your stomach with qualms. And like, you're like, what does this line mean? And you sort of have to adapt it kind of right there in the studio. And the line adapted would have been something like, I don't want to tell you this, but your cat is starving. The scripts are better now, and usually just fully adapted by the time you get to them. So that's been a real difference. And then also back then in the 90s, anime was a rare commodity. I mean, we had stores called Suncoast, which aren't really around anymore, and stores called Hastings. There's a few of those, and you would go in and you'd buy your anime, and it was so expensive, and you'd buy a VHS tape, and there were 2 episodes on it, and it was like $60, and now you get a whole DVD for $40, and there's like 12 episodes or 24, or whatever is on that. So that's a real change too. It's not as rare as it used to be. I mean, with Pokemon, really, that show just it was like an anime bomb, and it people was like, well, what is this thing that my kid's into? What is this yellow rat going Pika Pika all the time? And what is this? And and now it's there's a Toonami block. What's Toonami? There's that on the Cartoon Network. So it's really come a long way. I mean, I just went to Hot Topic and bought a great Attack on Titan shirt. It's out there now, and so I mean that's been a huge change, and it's been really interesting to see that. And I like that I have that perspective. I like that I started so long ago that I can see where things have gone and how the industry's changed, and how more accessible anime is now. And I think that's really cool.
Sorry to interrupt here, but speaking of Pokemon, I was just thinking that was actually my I remember that was actually the first anime I ever purchased on VHS. Was the first volume of Pokemon.
Really?
Yeah, that was back in I think it was 1998.
Yes. And how many episodes were on that VHS tape?
I think there was like 4.
Oh my
Whoa.
God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got a lot.
It was only, I remember specifically buying that because I bought it. Well, I'm going to derail this a bit here. Where I live in Pennsylvania, the Monday after Thanksgiving starts deer hunting season, which runs about 2 weeks here. And I think it was like a week after. It was like either a week or 2 weeks after Thanksgiving. It was coming up on the last weekend of hunting season on that Friday night. My mom took me to the mall that we had nearby, and I remember buying that. Tape. That was just. I just remember that so clearly. Buying as my first VHS tape or anime VHS tape that I bought.
That's so cool. What was the first anime, Mike and Matt, that you got?
For me, I have to admit, I never purchased anime on VHS, but I did watch, what was it? Oh, Escaflowne on VHS because a friend lent it to me.
Oh my God, my good friend Mike Brady is in that, and I don't remember the name of his character, but he does that rap. That's, I don't remember, do you know what I'm talking about, the rap? In Escaflowne?
Oh, it's not ringing a bell.
Well, it was also a long time ago. But anyway, he's fantastic in the dub. He's amazing in it. Anyway, so Mike, what was your first anime that you bought?
All right, now I'm gonna sound like the old fart here. My first two were both on dubbed VHS. The first was Ranma One Half OVA, like Water for Ranma, and the second was Dragon Half.
I love that, and trust me, you're not the oldest person here, so don't be self-conscious about it. That's so cool. I love that. That's great.
Oh, I forgot to mention the first one that I actually bought. I believe it was Macross Plus on DVD.
Really?
Yeah.
My first anime DVD was different. It wasn't Pokemon. It was actually it was this one, another one I remember clearly because it was the weekend after Christmas in 2001 because my parents had bought me a PS2 for Christmas, and at that time my family. My aunts and stuff, because I wasn't working and I was still in high school. They'd give me money, so they gave me a whole bunch of money. And we used to have a media play over in Harrisburg. And I'm like, tell my mom and dad, I'm like, hey, can you take me over to this place, media play? I'm like, yeah. So they took me over there, and I think, the first 5 DVDs I bought, anime DVDs, were the first 5 volumes for the original Mobile Suit Gundam.
Oh.
And I still own them. I still own all of them to this day.
That's awesome.
Because then I used to go to Suncoast when they actually existed, because we had one mall I went to often. And I remember I just scraped by my allowance a little bit. I'm like, okay, I got my $30-some here. Okay, the new volume's out. I'm like, Dad, can you take me to the mall on Saturday and buy this? Yeah, sure. So he'd take me over, and I'd have just enough money to buy buy the DVD, and I'd be like so ecstatic when I get home. So I'm be like, yes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, sorry to derail about buying stuff. That's just when you mentioned Pokemon, that just popped in my head.
No, do you guys know that I'm in Pokemon?
I'm looking at it here. Yes.
Yes. So I played Kay the Raichu trainer in Pokemon, and that I actually had kind of an issue with that episode because Kay was really bitchy. She had an issue. We know that that Pokemon and then Raichu are what is the evolution of Pikachu. But they send out these electrical sort of charges when they're excited, and she had a bad reaction the first time Raichu sent out this electrical and she freaked out and threw Raichu across the room, and the poor thing landed on its head, and then it wouldn't go near. I was like, oh my god, this is traumatic. But not really. I'm just kidding. It wasn't really traumatic, but it was just, I just thought Kay was wow, she's so bitchy. But anyway,
I have a random question for you. You mentioned Pro Tools, and I was kind of wondering, that's still kind of a thing as far as studio recordings, but there are also some studios that use Logic Pro from Apple, and I was wondering what's the more common now?
As far as I know, and I tend to ask, not all the time, but for the most part when I've asked, they've said Pro Tools. So I it's possible that I could have been recorded on the Apple software. At home, I use Adobe Audition. That's easier for me than Pro Tools. I worked in Pro Tools a little bit when I used to time code scripts, but I've never worked on Pro Tools on the ADR side, the engineering side. It's just a complicated program for me. But so yeah, I don't know. It's possible that I've been recorded with the Apple software, but whenever I've asked, they've been using Pro Tools. So what else do you got?
All right. Are there any particularly interesting stories about your experiences that you like to tell people? Is there something that most people don't know about that you're really proud of?
Yeah, actually. So I know I'm so long-winded. I'll try to not be. But this is something I'm most proud of. So when the auditions for Cutie Honey were coming, so this was back in '98, I was told that Go Nagai actually was in contact with ADV Films, and that he had wanted to cast Winona Ryder as the English voice of Cutie Honey. And ADV Films said, well, we cannot afford that kind of a salary, so you are welcome to pick someone else. And so Go Nagai responded and said, well, if you won't let me have Winona Ryder, then I absolutely want to cast the English voice myself. And 9 of us were auditioned, me being one of them, and they sent off the auditions, and he chose me. So a lot of people don't know that I was actually hand selected by the creator of Cutie Honey, specifically in the new Cutie Honey series, to be the English voice of Cutie Honey. And that to me is the biggest honor that I have ever had bestowed upon me, because, I mean, first of all, opportunity. I mean, it's not so often that the creator is involved in the casting process. And the fact that it's Go Nagai, good Lord, I mean, talk about fangirling out. So that was amazing to me. I will always just cherish. I will just always cherish that. So
sorry to leave you hanging there.
Right.
No, we think that's pretty awesome too.
Definitely.
Oh, good. Yeah.
That is awesome. Kid tested, creator approved.
Excellent.
All right. And what would you say your most difficult role has been, and why would you say that?
So I hate to be so vague, but I'm gonna give you a generalization. I don't think I have a role in mind that's been more difficult than another. I find challenges within each of them for different reasons. I'm challenged in the more subtle roles that I've played, and there haven't been that many subtle roles, but there's a not a well-known anime called Boogie Pop Phantom that I played Moto, who was the first character we see in Boogie Pop Phantom, and then I played Poom Poom, who was this weird little boy who was like the Pied Piper, and he was so freaky and odd. And he came about in like episode 11 and 12, I think. He came about later in the series. But Moto was very, very calm and very, And, Fairy Tale, I played Eclair in Fairy Tale, the movie, the Phoenix Priestess. I played the Phoenix Priestess. And that was a challenge. She was very subdued. Her pain and her emotion was very contained. And that's a challenge because you really have to keep your acting chops at a believable low level, but still manage to get the pain across in your acting. Which then makes it sound like I'm going to say that the energetic characters are easy, right? Because then I can be crazy and and upset and scream and tear my hair out. But those aren't easy either, because the challenge I find with the energetic roles, Cutie Honey's pretty energetic. Hanji from Attack on Titan is very energetic, and we've got Excel Saga, which is the epitome of, God, she's so energetic. Billie Jean! So, the challenge there is to not make them all sound the same. And I worry about that, because a lot of fans will be like, oh, I can't wait for Hanji. Oh, it's going to be Excel Saga all over again. And I think, oh, God, no, I don't want that. I don't want that stigma. I don't want that, I don't want them all sounding the same, If the comparison is merely the fact that they're both energetic and a little crazy, that's okay, because Hanji's a little off, and we all know Excel Saga is a little psychotic, and that comparison's fine. But in voice, you want to find those different vocal modifications and different levels that you play, so that not everything sounds the same. So I find a challenge when we're talking about characters that are in the extremes, when they're on the one side, which is very low, you don't just want to sound emo and low and make all those characters sound the same, and you don't want your high energetic characters to sound all the same either. And that's my challenge, is finding those differences and those slight alterations vocally that doesn't sound the same.
I know both Mike and I are upset at the idea that Boogie Pop Phantom isn't well known, because it's like it's such a rare show. It's
you
little
guys
bit
like that?
Oh, very much.
It's such a wonderful show.
I actually have not seen it myself yet.
Shame. Not kidding.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna go cry in the corner now.
No,
then keep my clothes on and jump in the shower and like get in the fetal position and cry.
No, take your clothes off and get into the fetal position. That's the only way to do a good fetal position. Cricket. Yeah, Boogie Pop Phantom, I feel like it's one of the, it's really underrated. And I'm not really speaking about myself because I don't, you guys have seen it. So, and I'm not going to spoil everything for you, Anthony, but every episode is features one main character. So, like that character is the lead for that episode, and it tells their experience with Boogie Pop herself. And it is a rare show, and the animation is interesting, and the soundtrack is interesting, and it came, I think, maybe the part of the problem. I don't know. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this, but it wasn't released too far after Lane, and a lot of people compared the two series. They're like, "Wow, Boogie Pop Phantom is so similar to Lane." I don't know. Maybe some of the muted tones, in terms of the colors that was used in the animation, and the fact that it was. There was this sort of otherworldly entity sort of controlling things. I guess I can kind of see a comparison there. But, I mean, come on. Lane and Boogie Pop Phantom really had nothing to do with each other at all. But they were released within years, I think, of each other, like not too far apart. And so that might have hurt Boogie Pop, I think, in a way. People might have written it off. And because so much of the popularity of a series or a TV show or whatever, or a movie – like there's just like a specific window of time when something is released and it's either going to catch on or it's not, and that's why we have those catchphrases like underrated, and that's not a catchphrase, it's a word, but little known series, something that should have just gotten so much more attention than it did. So yeah, I think Boogie Pop is a great, and it was really well directed. My friend Joe DeGiorgi, who works at Headline Studios in Irvington, New York. He dubbed that series, and that was for the Right Stuff International, and Joe DeGiorgi was the lead engineer and director and ADR person on that dub. And I thought it was just a really great show, and it's so cool that you guys have seen it and that you liked it too.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective comparing it to Lane. I don't really feel like they're similar at all, to be honest. Lane definitely has a special place in my heart, and I love it as a show.
Me too.
I think as far as Boogie Pop, I would have compared it more to Vampire Mew, to be honest.
Oh, I haven't seen Vampire Mew.
But Mew was a bit more obsessed with style than Boogie Pop, I would say.
Okay. Did you ever hear did you ever? I just would see online. Oh, Boogie Pop's just like Lane. Did you guys ever see that, or is this kind of the first time you're hearing about that?
I heard it a couple times, to be honest. Especially among some of my close friends, I used to hear that.
Personally, I hadn't seen the comparison, but even at the height of my involvement in the anime scene, I still missed a lot of stuff.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, well, it's easy to miss. I mean, good Lord, titles come out every day.
Especially, that was 2001 or 2, wasn't it?
Gosh, when did we record Boogie Pop? I would have to Google that. I really don't remember.
All right. I know it was like at that early point in the anime boom where everything was just hitting all at once.
Yeah,
so
I mean, those were the days. So I lived in New York, and like I said, I worked at Headline Studios with who became a dear friend over time, Joe DeGiorgi. But that was when we had Central Park Media and Taj Productions and For Kids Productions. I mean, this was the boom, and there was dubbing going on a lot in California and in Canada and, of course, in Texas. And I believe Funimation was around by that point. I don't know when Funimation surfaced, but I think they were around by then. I'm not sure. And then all the New York studios were just, like you said, booming. So, yeah, so, it got lost in the shuffle, I think. And I just think, unfortunately, it had a release, and people identified it with Lane, and it got swept under the rug. I actually just bought it. I have it on VHS. and I love it. And I would say about 6-7 months ago, I finally, just for myself, I bought it on DVD, and I got a Boogie Pop Phantom anime scroll that I'll send you guys a picture of it. It's really pretty, and it's right behind me. I love this series. I think it's great.
Kind of agree. I hope more people decide to pick up and check it out.
Yeah, me too.
It's hard to find dark anime in general. It's, even though I would consider Boogie Pop dark, it's more like, oh, what's the term? Moral almost. Like
Yes.
each of these characters experience their own personal tragedies and kind of get reprimanded for it.
Yes, it's very judgy, right?
Yeah.
It's judgmental. It's very. I find a lot of anime though judgmental. Duty and honor, and you have failed the entire world because you ate ramen. Which I'm being silly, but it's very much like learning lessons and ways of life and remaining honorable and standing by your choices. And then when you make a mistake, you own them. It's very judgy, but. Yeah, Lane, I didn't find a morality aspect in that, but I'm going to be honest and say that I'm not a great person to have a good, not that you're asking, but I'm not the best person to have a really intellectual conversation about Lane because, oh my God, it was over my head. I thought I understood it, and then it ended, and I was like, oh man, WTF did I just watch? And then I'm Googling like mad to try to get whatever director notes I could because I didn't want to miss the point of it. I mean, it's such a beautiful, I have all three, there are 3 soundtracks that are released with Lane, and I have all 3 of them. I love the music. I love the score. To this day, I have them on my Nano, on my Nano Pod. I have them on there. I love the music for that show, and I love the show. And I watched the sub. I think it's been dubbed. Has it been dubbed?
Yes.
Okay. I watched the sub years ago when it came out. I've actually watched it 3 times. Oh, you guys, I just don't get it. But I love it. I think I have my own sort of opinion formed on who Lane really is.
Part of me thinks that the writers didn't necessarily understand what they were writing either, but I think at the core of the show, it's this idea of how we flesh and blood people relate to information, and that's kind of what I took away from it.
Oh, interesting. Because the Wired was practically its own character, right?
Right.
And also, I mean, I don't want to give spoilers, so if anyone has seen Lane and you don't want to hear the ending, then please stop listening right now. Have all 3 of you watched it?
Yep, absolutely.
I have a few times.
Okay,
yes.
Okay, you have. Good. Okay. So, was she a computer program?
I am not clear on that myself. Actually, it's one of those things. Like, was she just a construct of the Wired to enter the Wired?
I think that's part of the mystery, to be honest. She could be one or the other, really. Or maybe she's both.
Yeah. And I went to an anime convention. I wasn't a guest, but I went as a friend, and just support. I'd gone to see I think it was I'm sorry, this was so long ago. This was like 2000. Or maybe 2002 or 2000, I can't remember. But it was when I lived in New York, but the convention itself was either held in Jersey or maybe New York. But I'd gone to see it because my friend Lisa Ortiz was a guest, and they were showing the movie Utena. Have you guys seen Utena?
I've seen some of it.
Yep. The movie was like the wall in terms of its symbolism. It was fantastic.
Yes, the movie. Oh my God! So the creator of Utena was a guest as well. And so they did this special thing where it was this huge panel, and I love these kinds of panels that they have where they have the Japanese guest and they have the main VAs from the show, and they all have like a Q&A, and it was just so wonderful to be there, and he was such a nice man. And so people kept asking very direct questions. So when this happened, what did it mean? And all of his responses, all of them, and he had a translator working. An interpreter working there as well, and the interpreter would say, "I can't tell you," and and also I forgot to mention, we had as a panel, the whole panel was watch the Utena movie and then a Q&A after. So we had all just watched the movie. And someone just point blank raised their hand and they said, "Why did she turn into a car?" And again, he says, "I can't say. I cannot tell you." And so I believe he knew. I believe that he had an absolute, he had a reason for it. I mean, it's his story, and he's telling it in the way that he wants to tell it. It's a gorgeous movie. The colors and the dub is wonderful. Wonderful. This is stellar cast. And we watched the dub at the panel, and but you want answers. I mean, why did she turn into a car? And he would not tell us anything. It was so maddening.
That must be just frustrating to say. It's like, all right, creator, what the hell did I just watch? I can't tell you.
And you've got it's like one of those things where you're like, wow, if so and so were here, it's like those questions they ask you, like if you could have one singer who, deceased or living, come to your living room and sing you a song, who would it be? And for me, it would be like Ella Fitzgerald. It would be like somebody or if you got to have dinner with one person, out of a list of people that you admire, who would it be? Like Gandhi, or whatever. Someone, you pick something. So it's one of those things where it's like, if you could actually be in the same room with the creator of Utena, what would you ask him? Because that would probably never happen. And it was there. It was at our fingertips. The dub played, the actors were there, and the creator. And so we're getting that moment where we get to ask these questions, and he's like, "I cannot tell you." Shaking our tiny fist to the sky.
It's almost like saying, "I decline to answer on the grounds that it might incriminate me." It
really was like that. I mean, he didn't answer anything he didn't want to answer. He did answer some questions, but the questions that we most wanted to know, he was, nope.
Sounds like an ADV panel. Everything Dave Williams would say was, "I can neither confirm nor deny."
Oh, really? Oh, that's so funny.
Hey, Animago is the one that's famous for that.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, cool story, bro. Next question.
What you got?
All right. Your career spans the long and the short, the good and the bad. You've seen it all. You've done it all. Are there any tales that you started that you'd like to call attention to, perhaps as challenges for anyone seeking, say, anime fan cred?
So does that mean someone who wants to be an anime fan and they want to impress me with like my caliber of work or my body of work or something?
More like somebody proclaiming that they're an anime fan, and there's a certain body of work that they should know, depending on where they live. Obviously, Japan anime fans should probably know more than we do, because there are certain things that just never made it over. But, yeah.
Well, I think I'm probably bad at answering that in terms of what would qualify someone as a real anime fan. So because with me, I actually don't know tons about anime. I will watch a series that I'm interested in. I heard it was good. I watch a lot of subs. I don't have to watch the dub. I certainly can't watch my own work because my own voice annoys the hell out of me. So that's a question that people add. Do you watch your own work? Hell no, I don't watch my own work. Are you kidding me? No, I can't stand the way I sound. But there have been a lot of anime series that I really love the series Blood Plus. I love it. Does that mean I'm an anime fan? I don't know. I mean, I'm a film fan. I love just all kinds of different film. But that's not entirely true. I can't stand romantic comedies. But I love independent films, and I love dark films. I love dark TV series. I'm a crazy fan of Breaking Bad. But back to the anime thing. I don't know what would give someone a good anime, fan cred. I suppose they should probably be familiar with Oh, see, I don't know. I mean,
Well, you already mentioned Blood Plus, and that's actually, in my mind, that's a somewhat obscure title. So it kind of
really?
it kind of relates to what what I had in mind when I asked the question.
Okay.
Like a film fan or a film enthusiast would watch a whole bunch of, I don't know, Tarkovsky and and Bergman films, right? The kinds of things that most people will never hear of in their entire lives.
Gotcha. So obscure things. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't realize Blood Plus was obscure, and that's a gorgeous freaking series. Another series that I love, and I watched the sub of Blood Plus, and I watched the sub of oh god, this series absolutely killed me. It broke me down. Nana. I know it's kind of a chick series, but if you guys have seen Nana, it's incredibly upsetting.
Yes, it is.
It is.
It's such
Okay,
a
you
great
guys have seen
series.
You guys have seen it.
Yeah, sorry not to interrupt. That dub also is amazing.
Yeah, it is a great series, but oh my god, I cried. I'm one of those people that when I watch something, I will apply it to myself, which I guess we all do, maybe even subconsciously or maybe consciously, and just like friendships and relationships that just were just destroyed or didn't go the way that you thought they were going to go. Lack of communication or just miscommunication and Nana really hit home for me on that. It just really, really, really got to me. And I also thought the animation was just gorgeous. I thought that those characters were just drawn so beautifully. Yeah, but I don't know, what anime credit? I don't know. I know that I will watch something on recommendation from somebody that I trust. And I watched Attack on Titan as it was coming out. I didn't even know who had the dub. I had no idea I was going to be in it. I had no idea who'd picked up the dub. I had no idea about any of it. I watched it because it got so much buzz, and I thought, well, there might be something to this, and I was hooked pretty much immediately. So I don't think that really answers your question, Matt. I'm sorry.
No, it's pretty.
You're like, what? Are you what?
Yeah, it's like at this point, what did I ask?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it's not that important anymore.
Because I ramble for 5 years.
All right, I'd like to actually go further on this line. And out of your own body of work, what would kind of shock you if someone said, I remember you from this series?
Oh, God. I'm always shocked when someone wants me to sign something from Comic Party. That was a silly, not that great show. I mean, just the story was like, the guy was so freaking whiny. I think I played Emmy Oba. I think her name was Emmy in that. She was very funny. So I'm always kind of shocked when someone wants me to sign that. I'm delighted as hell when someone wants me to sign a Dragon Half. I mean, any of my older stuff, when someone is like brings Those Who Hunt Elves. I played Celsia in the first part of the TV series, and of course Yuri and the Dirty Pair, and then a symbol insert. I had signed someone's a symbol insert, and I thought, wow, that's a trip. And then, but what really trips me out is when someone brings because I was not even in this dub, but when they asked me to sign Hellsing Ultimate, when they asked me to sign a DVD. I was not in that dub, but I did work with Team 4-Star on one of their episodes, the episode that Rip Van Winkle was in. She was in episode 4. And the Hellsing Ultimate Abridged that Team 4-Star has brilliantly done. And so whenever someone's in the autograph line or they're like, can you please sign? And you realize I did not play Rip Van Winkle in the dub. Like, I don't want you to be misled. There's a very talented VA who played Rip Van Winkle that is not me. And they're like, oh, but you did the Team 4-Star version of it. And I'm like, okay, as long as you know that it's the Team 4-star abridged version, I will sign this because I don't want anyone thinking that I'm, somebody that I'm not. And that is just a trip. I've actually signed a lot of wall scrolls for Hellsing and, DVDs. And that's just an absolute, it just really tickles me.
Well, I just want to say, if I knew where you were and I could actually find my discs of this, I see that you were Tsukino in His and Her Circumstances, and that's something that I would be delighted to have you sign.
Oh, yeah, I was Tsukino. I think she was the older of the two sisters. Yeah, and that was dubbed. That was another Right Stuff International dubbed by this Headline Studios in Irvington, New York. Joe DiGiorgio was the director, and Jeff Thompson was the assistant director on that and producer, I believe. And yeah, that was a fun show to work on. I thought the animation for that was really pretty. I thought, for a typical high school romantic comedy, and I hate you and you hate me, and she said this and no, I didn't. I just thought it was actually really pretty. So I thought that was a cool show.
Yeah, it was a very good looking show. I'm still really upset they never really adapted the rest of the manga.
Oh, they didn't?
No, that they did not. There was some creative differences between the Gainax and the mangaka.
That's probably the most polite way to put it.
Yeah, I'll just say is some interesting things happen later in the manga. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I won't spoil it here because not everybody may have read the manga because now it's out of print. But
I see. Yeah, I remember though working on Tsukino, I was not pleased with my voice work in that show because I felt that she sounded too old. I really wanted to give her a little bit more of a higher pitch and just maybe, just young her up a bit. But they really were like, no, we're going to keep her in your regular voice. And I'm like, but I'm like 20 something years old and she is like 10 or however old Tsukino was. And so, yeah, I didn't love my work in that, but I'm glad that you guys enjoyed the show. It was a really good. The leads were fantastic. Really, really good VAs.
All right. Is there anything different about working on like an adult-centric title, like say Attack on Titan or Cutie Honey, versus general release in regards to preparation, direction, or even just general production?
So general release, like
something made mainly for like
something that's going to DVD.
Sometimes going towards like a fairly broad audience, like a more mainstream release type of thing.
You're wanting to know the difference between maybe something that's like going to have more of a theatrical release as opposed to something going to DVD? Is there a difference in production or preparation? Is that what we're comparing?
I believe so. Is that right, Matt?
I missed the first part of that.
Is there anything different about working on like a more adult-centric title versus a general release in regards to prep, direction, or general direction?
Oh, yeah, I guess I mean in terms of like acting style, or do you tend to get different kinds of directions for those titles? Are they more or less comfortable than the others? That sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah. So if you're working on like a title like Pokemon or Attack on Titan, or when I was working on Cutie Honey, you're really, there are no deviations from the script. And especially like in cases like Pokemon and Attack on Titan, it's strict. I mean, you really, there's no ad-libbing. There's no, if you let's just say on the off chance, and I'm not saying that this happened, but let's pretend you're in the studio, you do your line, and let's say you're missing one lip flap. So the line ends and there's one lip flap over. And so you and the director decide to put a react in. Like you say the line and then, put a react in at the very end. Or maybe you put the react in the very beginning and then you say the line. Well, it's not necessarily approved, right? Like because actually reacts we can pretty much add in at will, but I'm giving an example for the sake of answering your question. So what they'll do is they'll record the line exactly as it is in the script, because that's what we're supposed to be recording, and then they'll do an alt track, and they'll be like, let's do the line the way we think fits better, and we'll send them both and see if we can get them approved. So that happens sometimes when you're working on like maybe a high profile show. They have to run everything by whoever they're reporting to. In some cases, it's the Japanese client. In some cases, it's the American. It just really depends. So there's no room to play. Whereas if you're doing a title, like for example, a title that I love to talk about that nobody's heard of. And it was my foray into zany characters. It was the first chance that I absolutely cut loose and just did whatever I wanted. It was a title called Princess Minerva. And we dubbed it in 96. And it was directed by Tristan McAvery, and it was for ADV Films. And I mean, we just went crazy. I mean, and I sang, and we were supposed to keep the original Japanese song in the middle of this anime where this woman starts singing, and they let me sing and recreate the song, and it's terrible and fantastic and awful and funny. It's just a disaster, and so we did whatever we wanted. That would not fly these days if it's a high profile show. It's pretty strict. So it depends on the title, but I can say that there are differences depending on what that title is.
Oh, so the general popularity of the show tends to be where the difference is?
That's been my experience. I don't know that that's correct across the board, but I know that, a couple of high profile titles that I've worked on, the less you're able to deviate from the script, improv, add something in, take something out. It's just not, put the word and in, or, maybe, give a breath that wasn't specified. Yes, those things are allowed. But, if it changes the integrity of the line, then that has to be approved. So, and yeah, that tends to be with the more popular titles. And it's not to say at all that the titles that aren't high profile aren't cared about. I really don't want that to be the connotation. It just means that, there's just a different production company, and a different set of rules. So,
moving on. If you've never actually fell into acting, what do you think you'd be doing here and now?
The classes I loved in school that weren't acting related were psychology and philosophy. I was in the honors program for psychology, and they begged me to double major in it. And of course I was like, no, I refuse to not major in anything that's not acting with a capital A. So I went the full on BFA, Bachelor of Fine Arts, which didn't allow for any kind of a double major. So I stuck with that. But I really loved psychology and philosophy, and I also really, really enjoyed biology. But psychology and philosophy, I probably would have done something there.
All right. And now for something completely different. It's Desert Island time.
Oh no!
You're on a desert island, stranded there for God knows how long, and you can only have 3 shows to watch to keep you sane. Anything at all. What would you choose?
I'm so bad at this. Because the thought of watching anything for the rest of my life would freaking drive me crazy. I watch something and then I let it go. I'm not one of those people that watches something more than once. I just don't. But that being said, my favorite TV show ever is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So if I were stuck on a on a desert island, and that was I would take Buffy the Vampire Slayer with me. I will always love that series for lots of different reasons. Two other things. I don't know. Gosh. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'd take the movie. My favorite comedic movie is Clue, but I already have that memorized and I quote it all the time. So I don't know that why would I take that? Because I already know it. Oh, I don't know. I think I would just take Buffy the Vampire Slayer and just hope for the best.
You could take Clue's spiritual predecessor, Murder by Death.
Oh, I have not seen that.
It's amazing.
Okay, I'm going to take that. Okay, so those are my three things. I don't know, you guys. I feel like I should take a TV series, though, because that's longer, and I'm going to be there forever, right? This is total suck. Have you guys seen the IT Crowd?
Oh, God, yeah.
No, I'm not.
My God. Are they making more seasons?
I hope so.
You can only pray.
It is so funny. But, like, I don't know. I actually have seen a couple of those episodes more than once because I'm like, tell a friend, like, you've got to watch this. It's so funny. So maybe I take the IT Crowd with me. I don't know. Or when you said it was Murder by Number?
Murder by Death.
Murder by Death. Where did I get number from? Why did I think you said number? Let's number the deaths of murder we're going to murder by. I need to see that. I need to see that movie. Yeah, and then I would want to take ice cream, and I know that's not like something to watch, but whatever. It's my island, right? So fuck it, I'm taking ice cream.
Well, you could watch ice cream. You could watch it melt.
I could. No, I'm gonna eat it.
Unless you get those ice cream sandwiches from Walmart, which don't melt for some reason.
Those will kill me, but that might not be a bad idea. Maybe I would just die after watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, you'll live just long enough to watch Buffy. That sounds perfect.
That sounds like a great plan.
All right, Walmart suicide pact. No, just kidding. All right, and where can people find you online? Like, reach out to you, get in touch with you.
Yes. So I'm all over the interwebs. I have a Facebook public page that I love to be ridiculous on, and so anyone can send me a message there or post something on my wall, and I love to post things, especially cons or news that I have for projects that I'm working on. I'm actually working with Side 9 Happiness. They animate their shorts, not the shorts that they wear. Although I would not be opposed to seeing some decent anime shorts and having people wear them, but they have been animating their actual comic for a while now. So I've worked on a couple of those. And along those lines, because they have their YouTube channel, I think it's called Explosum. And so I have a YouTube channel too. I posted a couple of parodies on there, and I'm going to be getting back to that. I'm actually working on a parody right now, which I hope to post within the month. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then at Facebook, and then I'm on Twitter, and I try to keep up with everyone there. And, yeah, you can pretty much find me at any of those three places. And I love talking to everyone. And I try to live twat on Saturday nights. I try to watch Attack on Titan. I'm going to watch it tonight, actually. And that's so much fun to do that. So I'm pretty accessible, so if you really want to talk to me, you'll be able to find a way.
All right, and I want to thank you again for joining us tonight.
Oh my God, you guys, it was my pleasure. I'm sorry that I talk forever. I really don't know how to make a short answer. I apologize.
It's not a problem at all. We had a lot of fun.
Oh, good.
I had a great time.
If it's good for you, it's good for us.
Oh, I had such a good time, and Dorian, we had a short love, but it was wonderful to meet you.
Yeah, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
the story of my life.
Oh, and Matt and Anthony and Mike, thank you so much. I had a good time with you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. All right, so that's our show, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and thanks again to Miss Calvello for joining us this evening.
She was amazing.
She really was. Definitely follow her on Twitter, Facebook. She is awesome. Uh, anyway, till next time, I'm Mike Ferrer signing off.
This is Anthony Simpson signing our bye-bye.
This is Dorian Chadwick.
And Matt Brown.
Blasting off.
All right, have a nice night, everyone.